So I bought a Ducati. I've never owned a Ducati before. I have a little bit of experience with Ducatis, and I'll say this in the least pretentious way possible. I've only ridden a Ducati twice in my life, and both times have been in Italy. One was a Ducati press bike, a 1098S back in 2008. And the second time was a Ducati Multistrada Pikes Peak when I went to Italy with a bunch of buddies on a 40th birthday trip, and we rented bikes. So I've been to Bologna twice, I've been to the museum 2 different times, and I'm a huge fan of the brand, but it has never really made sense for me to own a Ducati until now. So I would say Ducatis have been kind of on my radar over the last few years, been sort of loosely looking for one, but I kind of didn't really know what I wanted and wasn't really too sure. And then about a month ago, I went to Minnesota and I met with SBK Stash, and I saw all his Ducatis, which were absolutely incredible. And he kind of planted the seed in my head about buying motorcycles at the bottom of their depreciation cycle. So I somewhat understood this before talking with SBK Stash, but it kind of settled in that it does make sense to buy motorcycles when they're as cheap as they're ever going to be. Because in theory, then you have a garage full of motorcycles that are appreciating over time. So I'm sure you didn't subscribe to Wildcard Garage for financial advice. It's not really what we do here, but as is real life, finances are a pretty big part of surviving in this world. So it does make sense to be conscious of the dollars, where they are, where they're stored, etc. So that's a long-winded way of saying I now have a few dollars stored in a Ducati 1098R. This bike came up for sale on Facebook Marketplace a few weeks ago, and it kind of piqued my interest because it's not the kind of motorcycle that shows up on Marketplace on the regular basis. So kind of piqued my interest. I reached out to the seller, turned out to be a really nice gentleman named Jerry in Colorado, and I was going to Colorado. My wife's kind of starting to figure this out. She's like, you're kind of like the single guys that change their location on Tinder before you get there, and the way that you change your location on Facebook Marketplace to find the motorcycles in the place that you're going to be. I'm like, yeah, I do that. So I was going to Colorado, and this bike came up for sale. So I talked to the gentleman, super nice guy named Jerry. He was pretty hesitant to sell me the bike at first, I would say. He was very passionate about the motorcycle, and he was very concerned about the motorcycle going to a good home. Jerry and I chatted a little bit. I went to see the motorcycle. It kind of checked a lot of the boxes, and we were able to work through a few things and able to purchase the bike. So picked up the bike, brought it back here to Idaho, where it sits now, and yeah, I'm super pumped on it. Why I was interested in a 1098R is that this is a limited build motorcycle. So this bike is number 221 of 450. So 450 of them brought into the United States in 2008. If there was ever a bike to invest in, I feel like this is a fairly good one, in the way that there's not too many of them in the US. You know how many there are because they're numbered. And it's also in a way like one of the last like raw Ducati superbikes, in the way that it has a complete frame, is a V-twin motor. It doesn't have a whole lot of electronics. It has rudimentary early traction control, and it doesn't have all the aero and all the crazy stuff that modern bikes have. So it's 180 horsepower, and it's pretty badass, honestly. So the Ducati 1098R is the World Superbike homologation bike from 2008, and it has all the cool stuff of the day. So it's got the Marchesini wheels, carbon fiber bodywork, titanium exhaust. The exhaust is kind of funky. Apparently, this bike shipped with a different exhaust and a different ECU. So I have 2 exhausts for this bike and 2 ECUs. One had a catalytic converter in it and was probably a bit quieter, and this one is an obnoxiously loud, really badass race exhaust. So there's a bunch of titanium in the engine, titanium rods, sand cast engine cases, some titanium in the valve train, and really nice Öhlins suspension as a TTX rear shock. So this thing is pretty awesome. So really pumped on it. It has some of the early traction control. So I think it's the first Ducati that had traction control. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's a pretty rudimentary traction control, not quite as advanced as what the new bikes have, but there is traction control on the digital dash. My plan with this bike was to buy it, clean it up a little bit, and then put it into my basement in my office and just kind of store it there for the immediate future. Then I rode it on Saturday, and I'll tell you what, this bike, bear in mind, I haven't spent a lot of time on modern superbikes, so my perspective is maybe slightly different, but this thing is freaking rowdy. It half throttle in first or second gear, it's like lifting the front end, and the torque of the bike is phenomenal. I read an article on Motorcyclist when this bike came out, and Brian Catterson said that it runs like a built Harley, and if you haven't ridden a built Harley, you probably don't understand what I mean. I haven't ridden a built Harley, but I can only imagine what it feels like, because this thing, it has wicked torque and it just pulls. So my point is on that, I wasn't going to ride it, and I rode it a little bit, and I kind of think I want more. So I definitely don't want to ride it to the point where I'm putting miles on it in the way that that's going to cost a lot of money in maintenance, and I definitely don't want to put the bike at any more risk than it has to be. Winter's coming here in Idaho, so it will be going down to the basement for the winter. I'm going to build a really cool stand and have it on display, and then we'll see. Might drag it out in the spring to a track day. I don't know. Well, it really does sound like a bit of a caged animal. It's pretty cool. Dry clutch is it's kind of a unique thing. It's a little rattly, but this does have aftermarket clutch cover. So I might put the factory one back on, because the factory one I think would quieten things down a little bit when it comes to rattly dry clutchness. It is a Ducati thing for sure. It's really cool. Okay, there it is, the Ducati 1098R. I'm super grateful to own it, or to have it in my possession. I kind of feel like, in a way, like you sort of don't own bikes when they're special and after a certain age. But I'm super grateful to Jerry for passing it on to me, and it'll be in my possession for the immediate future. As I say, I'm very grateful. If somebody had told me in 2008 that I'd sometime own one of these bikes, I would have laughed at them and said there's absolutely no way. So it's really cool to have it now, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. I'm not really sure what the future holds. I'm really grateful to my wife Lisa. She's super understanding about these kind of things. So we're on the final push with the G6R Slingshot. Hopefully gonna get that bike finished very soon, and maybe on the racetrack. So really pumped on that. Just having a ton of fun with this channel. I really appreciate everybody's support. It was super cool in the SBK Stash video to hear from all the Ducatiista around the world, chiming in with their bikes that they've owned and why bikes are special to them, etc. So I'm really grateful for that, and we're having a lot of fun with it. It's really cool to be making connections with fellow enthusiasts around the world and having the opportunity to do really cool stuff with these super fun motorcycles. So thank you all. I really appreciate you watching. If you have any comments or any questions, please leave them below. Like, subscribe. I hate that, but yeah, just do it. If you could subscribe, that helps us out a bunch. We did hit 1,000 subscribers recently, which now allows us to be monetized, and I have made 96 cents as of this morning on YouTube. So big win. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.